Welcome to the sew along for the Ray Underwire bra, an advanced project from Madalynne's book, Sew Lingerie. In this video, I'm going through all the sewing steps, and I've prepped everything so that I can show you those little intricacies. I won't be going over any of like the simple steps, such as like a straight seam when attaching the frame to the back bands. Now, before we get into all the sewing stuff, I first want to go over what you should have cut out, also what trims that you have, and I want to make a couple of notes about things just to double check before you get started sewing. Let's go to the bra cups. So you have the center front lower cup, you have the side front lower cup, and you have the top cup. For the lower cups, I have just one layer of lace, and then for the upper cup, I have a galloon lace, same lace, but then the top edge is where that galloon edge or the scalloped edge is. I'm going to be showing you how to finish it unlined as well as lined, clean finishing it, which is a technique that I demonstrate in the book in a separate section. If you are clean finishing the lower bralette cups to the upper bralette cups, really nice finish, then you will also want to have the center front lower cup A, side front lower cup B cut out of a sheer cup lining. Now I already sewed this seam, but you also want to have this cut out. So you won't have a sheer cup lining for the upper cup. Frame and your back band. I have the main fabric and then the lining fabric. For the back band, the lining fabric is a stretch mesh. If you are full-busted or plus size, you can use power knit for the back bands. For the frame, I have the main fabric as well as the sheer cup lining. So you want the back band to be lined with the stretch fabric. You want the frame to be lined with a non-stretch fabric. That is really important. Because you don't want the frame stretching out, you want the frame to be stabilized. That is it for fabrics. Now let's go on to trim. So obviously you need your underwires. The shape of the wire seam line on the frame matches the shape of the underwires. Now let's go over trims. And this is not set in stone. You can definitely make adjustments where needed. You have your wide band, which goes on the bottom of the bra. Now, if you are plus size and you have a belly and you struggle with the bottom band rolling up, especially a wide bottom band like this, you can finish the bottom of the bra with fold over elastic, either a narrow fold over elastic or a wider fold over elastic. You will have to make an adjustment to the back bands so that your hook and eye fits, because the way that the pattern is drafted has a back band into it. So you'll have to make the back band wider if you are going to finish the bottom with a fold over elastic. Next is that you will also need fold over elastic or picot elastic. You can use this interchangeably to finish the side of the bra. So the underarm or the top of the back band that goes into the underarm. You can use narrow fold over elastic, you can use wide fold over elastic, you can use picot elastic. The book tells you to use picot elastic, but you can use fold over and you narrow or wide, doesn't matter. You will need your underwire channeling. This will be used on the wire seam line as well as optional on the side seam. And then your strap elastic, you can use narrow strap elastic, that's 1/2 inch, or you could use 3/4 inch. You just want to make sure that whatever width of strap elastic that you have the rings and sliders to match it. So that's it for trims. Now, one thing I wanted to mention before you cut out your ray, and on every single person that I have instructed or fit the ray virtually when they make their toile, when we have that first fitting, that center front gore is too wide. And I know exactly why, and it's very common, and it's not something that you would think to do, but when you cut something on the folds like this, and that's the way that the ray is. There is a turn of the cloth. So where the fabric actually turns around is like about 1/8/4 of an inch. And when you turn it back out, that gore ends up being wider than what the pattern was drafted. So I'm asking you that before you start sewing the ray, just double check that the center front gore at the top edge is between 1 inch, max 1.5 inches. On the finished garment, unless you are super wide chest, super wide sets, your channeling should be next to each other. If you're super close, you might have to overlap them, but the way that it's drafted is that these two channelings are sitting next to each other at the center front. So the finished garment should be about 3/4 of an inch. So technically the width of your gore should be 1.5 inches to account for seam allowance and turn of the cloth. Now mine is a little bit narrower because I am very petite, so everything on me is small. So I made this adjustment and this width based off of my body. Okay, so let's get started. As I'm going through this, I might be deviating from the order of the instructions in the book, but different route, same destination. So I'm just gonna knock out these two sewing steps. Is that I sewed the back band to the frame at the side seam, straight stitch, back stitch at beginning and end, and I also folded the center front gore back about like 5/16 of an inch and sewed that down. Again, I want to get to the nitty-gritty bra making stuff. I don't think you want to watch me sew a straight stitch, especially just a seam like that. So next step is to sew the bra cups together. Now there are two ways that you can sew the bra cups together. You can have it completely unlined like I have here, where there is absolutely no lining. I will say that there are a couple pros and cons to this. So having an unlined bra cup, I feel like is a little bit easier to fit because there's a little bit of mechanical stretch in the bra cups. So it's kind of like fitting a stretch fabric. Not really, but similar. So the fit, there's a little bit more of a wiggle room if you're doing an unlined cup. If you have the sheer cup lining in the bottom, stabilizes the cup a little bit and just makes the fitting a little bit more precise. I personally like the sheerness of a bra cup. I just think it makes it a little bit sexier. But I'm gonna be showing you how to do this unlined bra cup as well as finishing it with a sheer cup lining. So your first step is that you are going to just make sure, because it's very common, just make sure that you are sewing. It's very common to try to do this and not, flip-flop them. So just lay out your pattern, make sure that you have 2 left boobs, 2 right boobs. You are going to put right sides together, boom, boom. And you are gonna sew this seam with a straight stitch. Back stitch at the beginning and the end. Now you might be thinking, why am I using a straight stitch? 1, this is a non-stretch fabric, and 2, this is a vertical seam. So generally speaking, on lingerie, you can use a vertical seam on the, you can use a straight stitch on the vertical seams, you use a zigzag stitch on horizontal seams. So regardless of whether you're doing the lined cups or the unlined cups, you're gonna sew the vertical seam on the lower bra cups. So you have your main fabric, you have your lining fabric if you are doing the line cups at this step. I can probably take this out of the frame. Okay. Boom. Now, it is up to you how you want to finish this seam. You can serge it, serging will show through. You can press it to one side and just do a zigzag top stitch. Which I did on my bra cups, and then I trimmed it really close to that seam line. Or you can just press it open. It's up to you. It will depend on the fabric that you're using, what type of look that you're using. So if you are doing the unlined bra cups, all you will do is you will pin the upper bralette cup right sides together. The narrower edge is the underarm. The wider edge is the center front. You are going to lay that over, pin it along this seam, and then sew it together and finish it however you want. Now, if you are clean finishing it, you will pin it You'll pin it along the horizontal seam. Then you will lay your lining over right sides together. And you will sew a straight stitch along the seam, back stitch to beginning end. And when you're done with that, this is what it will look like. And you will flip this so that everything is encased in that seam. So your vertical seam on your lower bralette cups is encased inside the lining, as well as your horizontal seam as well. Really nice finish. But again, there are pros and cons to each, and really depends on what your size is, how you want your bra to look. Okay, so now your bra cups are assembled. Okay, bra cups are assembled. Now let's attach them to the frame. Now, it is going to depend. A lot of times we will do an exposed channeling just for decorative effect, or we don't do it, and if we don't have a channeling that matches, or we want the channeling on the inside. So I'm going to have my channeling exposed on this bra. So I'm going to put wrong sides together when pinning the bra cups to the frame. If you want your channeling on the inside, then you will have it right sides together. Same operation, but you might be pinning the pieces differently. So what I like to do is pin one side and then pin the other side. The ray is not supposed to go to this edge where the top of the cup is. It should go where like the seam line is. A lot of people get really nervous and like freak out because they're like, my cup is way too big for the frame, but they're actually trying to pin this edge to this edge and they have way too much excess here. So it really stops about right here. Now, if you have like a little bit of excess, that's okay, especially in a fabric. If you have a little bit of mechanical stretch, that's okay. Don't freak out. Everything will be fine. Everything will be just fine. So I like to, you can pin it along one edge, pin it along the other edge, and then pin in between, or you can just be very careful and pin it along, all the way along. Really up to you. Okay, so as you can see, the cup goes to the edge at the center front gore, but at the side, there is space here where that top cup is. I have just a hair of like hangover, totally fine. I am going to clean it up when I finish sewing this seam. Now you can pin both of them and then sew both of them at the same time, or you can pin and sew one of them and then pin and sew the other. I like to do one at a time because when I'm like sewing, the pins just get like all combobulated in each other. and then I just get angry. So I'm gonna sew this straight stitch, 1/4 inch seam allowance, back stitch at the beginning and the end. Okay, both bra cups are in. The bra cups extend from the edge on the center front gore, but on the side there's a little bit of hangover, basically where the top cup is. That horizontal seam meets the wire cup seam. A question that I get a lot at this step is, should I sew it with the bra cups right side face up or the frame right side face up? It does not matter, whatever is easier or more comfortable to sew for you. Okay, so the next step is to attach the channeling, the underwire channeling. So key thing about this step is that it is sewn in 2 steps. In the first step, you are only sewing through the seam allowances. On the second step, you are sewing through all layers of fabric. Keep that in mind. So you are going to also keep in mind that at the center front, unless you have changed the pattern according to your body, the right underwire bra was drafted so that the underwire channeling meets at the center front. You want to flip this bra, and you can do the left bra cup first or the right bra cup first, whichever one you want. So you are going to flip this, and you are going to sew it. You're going to lay your channeling down. Now, I don't pin my channeling at this step. I just, as I'm sewing it, that's how I'm just walking it through. So I'm going to lay the channeling down so that the edge of the channeling is next to the seam line. And you are stitching about 1/8 of an inch inside that channeling. Pretty much as close to the edge as possible. You want to get as close to the edge as possible because in the second step, you're going to be sewing another line of stitching. And if those 2 lines of stitching are too close together, you will not be able to get your underwire inside that channeling. You also want to make sure at this step that you are sewing it in a way that for the second step, the seam allowances are going to be pressed down into the frame, not into the cups. So a lot of people, what they will do is they will sew it on this side, and when they go sew the second step, they're like, oops, I sewed it the wrong way. So you want to be sewing it on the other side of the seam allowance so that for the second step, it gets flipped to the frame, not inside the cups. Okay? Now let's go to the machine. Again, I like to do 1 cup and then I'll do the other cup. I do not pin at this step. Okay, I sewed both underwire channelings. Now, if you are thinking to yourself, wow, this looks like a hot mess, it's all wonky, don't panic until you actually put in those underwires isn't until it actually takes shape. So if it's just like looking like nothing right now, like you're not really impressed, don't worry, just trust the process. I also put underwire channeling on my side seams to finish it off. That is optional. You can serge them. You can just press them to one way and do a zigzag. If you do sew the channeling, you can just sew the channeling. You can insert plastic boning, totally up to you. Now, before we do the second pass of underwire channeling, you will see that I have very little room here. Now, I highly recommend, you don't have to do this, but I highly recommend sewing on the bottom band first, then sewing the underwire channeling over it if it gets close to it. Like I said in the previous video, the Ray underwire bra was drafted so that there should not be a space in between the underwire channeling and the bottom of the bands. I'm going to sew this with a zigzag stitch since it is sewing horizontally. And the bottom band and the bottom of the bra should be overlapping 1/4 of an inch, and your stitch width of your zigzag should be 1/4 of an inch as well. Okay, bottom band is on, and as you can see here, maybe you can't see, but the way that I sewed the bands, I adjusted my sewing so that the band was sewn in a nice continuous curve from back band to back bands. It did not follow the bottom edge of the Ray underwire bra, and that's okay. That's totally okay. I would rather it look nice from back band to back bands. Perfection is overrated. Your sewing is not always correct. So now I'm just going to trim it so that since I am using a bottom band that is sheer where it would show through, I'm just going to trim it back. Okay. Now I am going to sew that second pass. So I'm going to press the seam allowances down or the underwire channeling towards the frame, and I'm going to sew as close to that other edge of the underwire channeling. Backstitch at beginning and end. Both of the underwire channeling have been sewn. Now it's time to insert the underwires. The colored tip goes on the center front, and it goes inside the channeling. And this is where the bra really takes shape. Okay, underwires are in. There should be about like 1/4 of an inch playroom here as well as the side. If it's like right to the edge, you need to go down an underwire size because you won't be able to sew on your fold over elastic or your picot elastic. Ooh, she's looking good. She's looking good. Okay, just a few more steps and then the right underwire bra is finished. So first thing you want to do is just do a little tack, straight stitch back and forth 3 to 4 times to close off this edge. Now, we are going to sew the also at this step, you will see that my stitching is not perfect by any means. This is a little bit above 1/4 of an inch up. This is hanging over. So I do this a lot in my bra making, is that I will clean up the edges as I sew. So I'm just going to clean that up. Okay, so the next step is to sew the fold over elastic or picot elastic, whichever you prefer, on the top of the back band as well as the underarm. So I'm not going to show how to sew fold over elastic because that, or picot elastic because that is in the book, but I'm going to sew it so that it hangs over just a bit at the top of the bra cup. And when you are sewing on the back band, you just want to make sure that you will be able to fit your hook and eye in the back. If you need to make any adjustments, do it at this point. Okay, just a few more steps and we are finished. Straps and hooks and eyes. So let's do the hooks and eyes first. So if the bra is facing you from the back, the hooks go on the left side. All you do is open your tape and you put the back band inside, and then you will sew with a straight stitch as close to the edge as possible. Now on the hook side, you will have to adjust your needle position so that the presser foot can get close to the edge of the hook and eye, because you don't want to be sewing on top of the hooks. It'll make sense when I put the camera while I'm sewing, or as I show it to you while I'm sewing. Then the next step is to do the rings and sliders for the straps. So you're going to wrap the rings around the strap points. And then you're going to take your strap elastic and your slider, and you're going to feed, first of all, cut your straps into 2 different lengths. Feed your slider through that center bar and then down again. So it sits just like that. Now a lot of bra makers will do it through the side strap or the side slider. That's a no. This is a yes. And you're going to sew as close to that hardware as possible. Rings are sewn on, so are hooks and eyes. The last step is to attach the straps. So with the bra wrong side face up, you are gonna feed the free end of the strap through the ring and then up and over that slider and down again. And then you are gonna lay it underneath the strap length, boom. You are going to lay it underneath the back band and you are going to attach it using a straight stitch back and forth 3 to 4 times. Boom, 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 boom. Ray underwire bra is finished. Sewed on the straps, attach them to the back bands, and it is finished. So if you have any questions, pop them in the comments. If not, I hope you enjoyed sewing the Ray and is the first of many.